Okay, so continuing. Oh, hey everybody. Why did I start like an idiot? It's because I make these videos one after the other, so in my brain, you just barely watched my last video, but you probably didn't. You probably had a few days, if you even did watch my last video. Anyway, that's not important. Hey everybody, it's Mr. Royal here, and we are going to continue our discussion about inputs and outputs as we prepare to learn about functions. Functions is basically one of the most important mathematical things that you will learn this year because it's going to affect you the rest of your life. As soon as you hit 10th grade, 11th, 12th, college, you will be using functions for the rest of it. Kind of like in my class we talk about graduating from the letter Y because we don't use Y so much in math after 9th grade. You usually use functions. That's something we're going to talk about in a little bit. For now, we'll just stick with using Y as we talk about what a domain and a range is. So here we go. We're going to fill in the blanks. Just a couple of definitions I need to cover. The blank is the set of all possible x values. That is going to be the domain. The domain is the set of all possible x values. We also call those inputs. Okay, so if you can remember that x is your input, a way that I teach my students to remember that is that at the end of the word domain is the word in. So the domain is our x values. That means that our range is the set of all possible y values, also known as outputs. Okay, pretty easy stuff here. We're basically just going to be listing out all of the possible x and y values. And this homework assignment is going to seem super duper easy and a little silly, but in 2 units from now, it's going to become a little more complicated, so we just wanted to take a little bit of time and lay some groundwork for you guys. So here we go. Let's go to question 3. When I want to list out my domains and ranges of different things that we see, so for example here we've got a table. What we talked about in class is that you need to use a curly bracket. It's going to basically be like a map, but with curly brackets. So we're going to use curly brackets to surround all of our possible inputs, our x values, for the domain, and we do not ever write duplicate numbers. So, or duplicate anythings, really. Anyway, so here we go. On the domain, we would just list it out. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And by putting them in the curly brackets, it's saying, hey, we've got this set. A set of numbers or a set of items. And that's what our domain is. That's all of our possible inputs. Our range is the set of all possible outputs. So -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. Curly bracket. That didn't look so curly. Okay. Next up, we've got number 5. So what are the possible inputs on number 5? Well, it's going to be this stuff in this column here. It's our head, circumference, in inches. It's almost like you need to measure your hat or your head to get a baseball cap size. So here we've got 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Super duper easy. And what we talked about in class is that you don't just have to have numbers as inputs or outputs. Sometimes you have other things. So for example, small is a possible output. Medium and large. I had to abbreviate medium to fit everything there. So there you go. That's your domain and your range. Let's go on and scroll. Maps. Oh my gosh, these are so stinking easy. Because basically a map shows you your domain and your range. So when I go to write my domain, I'm just going to write -4, -2, 0, and 3. And for my range, I've got -3, -1, 2, and 5. And we never write duplicates when we write domains and ranges, which is awesome because we don't write duplicates when we make maps either. Alright, let's go on to the question 9. So the question 9, again, all possible x values in order from least to greatest. Don't write duplicates, so my x values are going to be these ones I'm underlining here. 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Then my range is going to be my possible y values, and we write it in the same way. In order, from least to greatest, don't write duplicates. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. And question 11, same idea. My smallest x value is right there, -5, then -3, then -2, -1, and then it jumps all the way up to 10. And my range, -9 is my smallest number there, -5, then 0, no, wait, what? Well, I underlined the wrong thing earlier. Don't yell at me. Okay, we got 0 here and 0 here. We only write it one time. And then 6, curly bracket to close that up. So easy. Nothing too tricky going on here. Except when we go to graphs on the next page, which is level 2, it starts to feel a little bit difficult. Again, we need to write our possible x values and our possible y values. So the domain for this graph here, I teach my students to imagine that each one of these dots is a tennis ball hitting the ground. Or actually I say that it's hitting water in case it needs to float up. So right here is the surface of the water. Okay, and each one of these dots is a tennis ball. And we want to say where it hits the water. So for example, this first ball is going to hit right there. The second one there. The third one already went into the water and it's going to bob up right there. And then both of these are going to end up right there. So we just need to write those x values. We got -4, 0, 1, and 4. Then, for the range, we're going to basically do the same thing but the opposite way. So like I tell my students kind of graphically to pretend like that's a glass building, and that each one of the dots is a bird that's flying, and they don't see the glass building, and they're going to splat and hit the wall. And we just want to write where they hit the wall. So the range, in this example, starting with the smallest number, the lowest on the y-axis, is -4, then -2, 2, and 3. Now, if we jump over to question 15, don't be weirded out. Because like in question 13, we see that the axes are right here. But in question 15, the axes are right here. But the same idea applies. We're still going to look at where each tennis ball hits the water or where each bird hits the wall. So for example, we've got a ball that's going to hit here, 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 and here. So I've got 0, 1, 2, and 3. Then if I imagine the birds hitting the wall, the skyscraper, we've got hits here, 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 and here. So that would be a hit at 1, 2, 4, and 8. You might notice a pattern with those numbers there. I'm trying to set you up for what's coming in our next unit. Woo-wee. All right, level 3. Level 3 is kind of trying to take your knowledge and stretch it even farther. So, for example, we know that the domain is a set of possible x numbers. And we know that the range is a set of possible y numbers. So in question 17, I'm giving you the y numbers, and you need to find the x numbers. So what that means that we would do is we would need to plug in a y number one at a time and solve for x. So for example, I would plug that in for y, so I'd get -8 equals 3x minus 2. And then this is a box of doom question. X is being multiplied by 3 and subtracted by 2. So we do the opposite stuff backwards. Add 2 to both sides, so -6 equals 3x. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and x equals -2. -2 is one of the numbers in the domain. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and check another one. This time I'm going to try with -2, plugging it in for y, so -2 equals 3x minus 2. I want to add 2 to both sides, so 0 equals 3x. Divide by 3, and, oh, text message, and x equals 0. Alright, let's do that again, only this time I'm going to plug in the number 1. in for my y number. So I've got 1 equals 3x minus 2. Add 2 to both sides, so 3 equals 3x. Divide by 3, and x equals 1. And finally, let's go ahead and double check our 10. If I plug a 10 in for y, add 2 to both sides, so 12 equals 3x. Divide by 3, and x equals 4. That is the last number in the domain. So just, you already get this, but if you were to plug in the domains, that would mean you would need to plug a number in for x, and then keep track of what your possible y values are for your range. Alright, that was your helpful video, I hope, for this homework assignment. Remember, you're trying to list things, list possible x values and possible y values. So let me just give you a hint here on number 4. On number 4, you are trying to describe the time at which the weather forecast was describing. So you kind of want to think about this like a timeline. You are sitting here at now, and you'd call that time 0. And then think about what the weather forecast is talking about. Okay? How far back is the forecast talking about from now? How far forward? And it would be tough to write down every single possible time that the weather forecast is talking about, but we could write an interval. So, anyway, that's your hint for level 4, for rewarding you for watching, and you're being amazing and all that learning stuff. I hope you guys have such a great day. Okay, bye.